Hey everybody, this is Kyla here from Waveflow, the mindfulness practice that creates ripples of acceptance, meaning, and appreciation in your life. This season, we're interviewing a series of founders, entrepreneurs, and small business owners to hear how they got started and have kept up a practice of sticking with the intentions that they've set for themselves. Next up is Morgan. I first encountered Morgan's work at Headlands Group when my son's preschool hosted the most incredible parent education session. A group of parents from our school were invited to a gathering with licensed therapists where parents could share breakdowns and breakthroughs that they've had with their toddlers and be guided through challenges with the help of the incredible therapists who facilitated the event. If you've never parented a toddler before, at least in my experience, it's been a true opportunity to learn about myself and identify in which scenarios I might feel most anxious when it comes to supporting my kids in navigating their own life and growth. Each child is different, each family is different, and yet we were all able to share and learn from each other in this intimate and supportive setting. Later, I got to know Morgan, a co-founder of the Headlands Group, when she joined Waveflow's Spark Innovation Entrepreneur Group earlier this year. I was immediately drawn to her unique capability to connect people and, of course, Morgan's exceptional, non-judgmental listening skills. So don't forget to look within and try on a structured intention-setting process of your own. Grab a copy of Waveflow's new intention setting workbook, North Star, and discover what could come to fruition in your own life through a month-long commitment to a custom curated intention. Okay, let's dive in to hear more how Morgan at Headlands Group got off the ground and what parts of the journey have felt most memorable and significant. Morgan, I'm so excited to have you here. I cannot wait to hear about how the Headlands Group came to be. So take us all the way back to the beginning. How did this idea first start? And what was the initial thing that got you going?
Well, thank you for having me, first off. And I just was reflecting that we're at the 5-year mark of Headlands. So it's really cool to be here with you and be able to talk about the arc of things over 5 years. I had been in private practice just on my own for about 10 years. And actually, in the height of COVID in like fall, winter of December 2020, or of winter of 2020, Ellen Hathaway, who was working with me, and I decided that we wanted to build something that was more community and to build a group practice together. And so we decided to form Headlands, and we haven't looked back. We started with one employee, and now we're a group of 9. And it's been a really great journey. That so many things, when you look back at them, you can sort of see the path. And at the time, it really just felt like one intuitive choice after another that now is really special to see how it lines up and makes so much sense. Yeah, and we work intentionally across the lifespan in therapy. So from, perinatal moms to little kids all the way through to later life adults. And really seeing families in multiple parts of the same system so we can support from a lot of different angles. Yeah, it's been a great 5 years.
So when you say it sounded like the word that you two were rooted in together was community. When you say community, is it community within the actual group of practitioners or is it community for the clients? Like, how do you both see community as coming to fruition through your practice?
Such a great question. It's both. We really strive to have a strong community within the clinicians in our group. So we meet regularly as a team, we collaborate a lot, we all sort of support from our areas of specialty with each other. And then we also really invite clients to see both where they have more connection within their own lives, clients who are feeling maybe lonely or isolated or sort of at a crossroads, to be able to help them tap more into their community and the resources around them. But also, we do sometimes offer groups as an approach for people to be able to come together with others and learn from each other. And then, as you mentioned, in terms of finding out about Headlands in the first place, we love to go out into the community and talk at schools, talk to companies, talk with parents, whatever it is, to provide education and just really normalize and increase the conversations that are happening about mental health and wellness overall. So it's a blend of both.
It's cool to me that you had actually been in practice like for 10 years when you were setting out to launch this. Did it feel just because I don't know, for me, I think like this is like a really experienced person, right? Like 10 years is a long time to be doing something. So, did the experience of shifting from being in a private practice yourself to then like kind of managing and creating a group, like was that a growth? I don't want to say like a growth curve, but like was that a growth part of your career for you? And like what has that been like?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I definitely had a lot of experience in the therapy background and in having worked in different settings. But it was the first time starting more of a bigger business. And I was so grateful to be able to partner with Ellen in that because she definitely brought a lot of the strength and the knowledge on that side from her background in forming nonprofits and in running schools and in, just really knowing the ins and outs of all of that. And so we paired up really well for that. And I, again, in the sort of hindsight way, look back and see how every 2 to 3 years in the course of the 15 or so years I've been doing this, there's been a marker and a decision to sort of start something new or add something fresh to keep mixing it up. And, a lot of therapists I find experience burnout at a certain point or disillusionment with what they're doing or just, hit a place of isolation, especially in private practice. And I've been really grateful that, I certainly have hard days and the work I do is hard, but like I've never felt burnt out or like I don't want to do this anymore. And I really think that is from just sort of continuing to seek out the next challenge or the next new thing and never getting to a place of like, I 100% know what I'm doing and I'm just repeating it. It's always, what's the next thing I can learn?
I love that. It's yours. The way I'm hearing it is you're saying using the tool of embracing change like as a tool for your own growth, like actually challenging yourself to try something different to avoid burnout. Like I think that's a really cool technique that it would be interesting if there was a more like systematic way people could apply that like to their own career. I know like certain companies do things where people are required to change jobs every couple of years, and it's cool that you've kind of built that for yourself without like being forced to by an outside party,
Totally.
because
Yeah.
that's really hard to do.
Yeah, and I mean it's definitely sounding much more that I set out to every 2 to 3 years have like a calendar reminder to do this. It's definitely more looking back at it and being like, oh wow, that really does fall on this sort of every 2 to 3 year cycle that I, added in becoming certified in EMDR therapy or got a perinatal subspecialty or teamed up with Ellen or then started Headlands with Ellen, and so it's neat to see, yeah, to look back and see it.
What advice would you give somebody who maybe has an idea about a project or an initiative they want to do in partnership with a co-founder, sort of like how you two started the group together? So either like how has that been for you, or what tools or like strategies would you recommend that somebody use when entering into that co-founder relationship and also maintaining it?
Uh-huh. I mean, first thing is I would say just like make sure you really like the other person, like make sure it's a good connection just on the human level before you add all the other layers of, financial and business and decisions and ego and like all the other layers, right? And so I feel super grateful that Ellen and I were brought together and introduced by trusted colleagues from both of us and just, hit it off. And I think knew that we had a lot to teach each other, from the different paths we had taken up to that point. And I think we also just really talk openly with each other, like nothing's off limits. And if there's something that one of us has a question on or wants to call the other person out on or would do differently, like there's just implicit permission that we can do it, and we, encourage that within our group too. We definitely, when we meet as a team, try to always acknowledge like, whoops, this was a mistake, or we're still learning here, or hey, we're trying this for the first time and y'all are along for the ride with that. Like, here we go, so um yeah, be willing to be transparent. I feel like the word humble gets used a lot in business and in entrepreneurship, but I think that really knowing what that actually means and not using it as sort of like a, another badge of just like, but really being able to take a look at yourself and acknowledge with each other the things you don't know, sort of like don't try to sell yourself to a potential business partner. Really try to like expose yourself and be real and have, an informed decision on both sides going in. And I've been really, yeah, felt really fortunate with Ellen that we've wanted enough of the same things, but also enough different things to really challenge each other to, see it in a different way or push each other at a time where maybe one of us was like not ready for the next level of growth. And the other one's like, no, I think actually right now is really the time that we should, whatever, expand into more office space or hire a new employee or, start doing this type of training or teaching. So I'm really grateful to be able to have that accountability and yeah, just both the person to be able to have as a sounding board back and forth, but also the accountability of, there's somebody else there who's, keeping me honest and keeping me real on what my goals are and what her goals are.
Is there anything you've learned about whether it's hiring or just the process of managing a team or anything around that that's been surprising or I don't know, exciting, whatever the word is, like anything around that that's come out of this experience for you so far?
Um, yeah, I mean, I first off have so much gratitude to our entire team. I feel really fortunate that we have always been able to opportunistically hire. We've never had to like, we need another therapist by next Thursday, like quick, find someone. We've really been able to always be in a place. And sometimes it's bringing somebody new in when we don't even fully have a spot for someone just because we're like, yeah, this is the right next person. And like, they're here a little bit sooner than we ideally would have wanted, but we want them, like most recently we just added two new people rather than one new person because in the hiring process we are like, wait, we like both of them so much. Okay, like this wasn't planned, but here we go. So I think the flexibility to think about growing, but also pausing on growing until you find the right people sets it up. And I think also, I'm really thankful that everybody comes from a different background. We have a lot of career change therapists on our team who worked in business or in tech or in, a different field before and then recognized that they wanted to be here. And so I see them both as, newer to therapy, but not like newer to life, like they bring so much that I don't have firsthand experience with from the work they've done and from reaching that decision point of like, I need to make a major change and having the courage to do it, having the courage to walk away from a secure job and go back to grad school and go through the, 3,000 hours of training we're required to have and to come out the other side. So I think really I hope, and my team can correct me if I'm completely off base here, but that everybody's voice is like, welcome and encouraged in the mix, and that as a result, yeah, we have a really just both diverse but cohesive team.
And just because y'all's business is unique in the way where you're managing this team, and then also there's the clients, right, who are being sort of matched, I'm assuming, with different people in your practice. So could you talk to us a little bit about how Headlands thinks about that process, about when someone reaches out, like, is it easy and you're like, oh, this person done like with this, or how does that work for Headlands?
Yeah, so it's a mix. Sometimes people will reach out because they've been referred to a specific person within our group. We get a lot of great word of mouth referrals. Someone saw one of the clinicians in our practice and they recommend a friend, this person's the best, go see this person. So sometimes people come in that way. Sometimes people come in just because they've been either referred to our group in general, or they've found us online or however else they find us. And it's more just to like, I don't know who specifically I want to see, but I think this is the practice I want to be seen in. And so either from, the initial contact, how they reach out, they've shared enough information that we have an idea of who in the group might be the right fit, or, one of us will hop on an initial call with them and just sort of, ask some questions, feel out a little bit more of what they're seeking, and then get an idea of who in the group could be a great fit. And I think because there is such a diversity within our group of therapists, oftentimes it becomes clear, even from something that's not like the main reason they're coming to see us, but just some factor of who they are as a person or what they're seeking, that it lines up like, oh, I wonder, I think that this person might be a really great match for that therapist. But we also try to, leave it very open to people. Like, if this isn't the right fit, let us know. I have, I don't know, maybe it's a bad habit, but it just feels honest to me of sometimes even, acknowledging, I think that this person outside of our group is actually even better. We could totally help you with this, but based on what you're sharing, I think you actually don't want to work with us. You want to go work with this other person. And like, for me, it matters to match people up with the right therapist, whether that's with us or elsewhere, because it is such intimate and vulnerable work. Like, I don't care so much about making the connection with a new client as I do making sure that we have a reputation of being a practice that gets you to the right fit, gets you to the right person.
And just in case we have anyone here listening who's maybe never done therapy, or maybe you did it in your childhood and had an experience that was like not the same as I think how like therapy is in Northern California today. It's really cool, right? Because in some ways, the therapist, in my experience of it, can almost act as like a mirror for that person's reflection of how their relational, like, I don't know, patterns are in a lot of different facets of their life. So that's why I'm asking Morgan all of these questions because I'm like curious. And I also like can only imagine, right? You have this now, like y'all are managing this like big group that is able to touch probably even more people just by pooling resources, right? And having like like kind of shared network for people to pull from. So when you and Ellen like look back on it and you're like, wow, like we like took the initiative to get this together and to like bring on this team that we're super proud of, and I would imagine like tangibly touch so many people's lives in all different ways through the lifespan. Like, what's the predominant feeling you have when you think back on these last 5 years? Like, is it proud? Is it exhausted? Like, what's there for you?
Um, it's yeah, there's pride in there, but there's also like so much gratitude and so much, just it's a really big responsibility and privilege to get to work that closely with people and to be able to support people, coming through major moments in their lives, to be invited in when someone's feeling off balance. And so I feel grateful that we've been able to expand to a place and brought in, team with a broader range of specialties, knowledge, background than Ellen and I have, to be able to see more parts of the same family, or to be able to expand into, different areas, be able to, you know, support more than just what I would be supporting if I was in private practice, or if it was just Ellen and I working together in private practice. And I think that there's also the ability in being a group to be able to learn so much from each other. Like, we just met yesterday as a group and we were talking about, what our role is when we're working with couples. And one of the women, Joanna, on our team just like summed it up so succinctly, from having heard what, four or five other people in the group had been talking about, and being able to cross pollinate and learn from each other in that way, to distill it down to, her saying that some of her goals for couples are to help them find clarity, ease, and safety. And it was like, that was this really great compilation of, what other people had been saying, but put through her own lens and filter as a couples therapist. It was, it's moments like that I'm like, yeah, we are teaching each other, and by extension, each of us is a better clinician and providing better care to our clients.
I love that idea of like the cross-pollination of knowledge and experience within the group. That's so cool. Okay, so let's say there's somebody who's where can we find Headlands Group if someone's interested in learning more about the services y'all have, the practice, whether it's individual therapy, couples, family, something in their family, where should they go?
Yeah, I mean, our website is headlands.group. You can find us there. We're on LinkedIn. We're not really big social media or advertised out there in the world just because we've been really fortunate to have mostly just word of mouth referrals from colleagues, from former clients, from current clients. So I think those are maybe the only two places you can find us. You can find us on Miller Avenue in Mill Valley and Sacramento Street in San Francisco. Yeah.
Awesome. And what would you say to that person who is on the fence about like seeking help for something or support for something and they're like they've thought about it, haven't been able to prioritize it for whatever reason? What would you want to say to that person?
I would say that if it keeps coming up as something you're thinking about, there's truth there, right? And whether that's therapy or some other way of finding that support, that, part of you is trying to say it's time. And, on the specific micro level, you're welcome to reach out and, have a free initial phone call with us. And again, as I said earlier, it is not going to be a sales pitch. I'm oftentimes, encouraging people to think about other resources or how to just sort of create more space for themselves in their lives that maybe includes therapy and maybe doesn't even need to, but you don't have to make that decision alone. I always love to talk to people and yeah, just help people think through stuff.
Morgan, thank you so much. You are such an amazing connective person. Like there's so much good in what you do. So thank you for continuing to keep going. We appreciate you coming on and chatting with us. I'll drop the link to Morgan's group in the notes. Thank you for spending this time with me.
Thank you for having me. And I will say that doing the Wave Flow group with you in January was such a just clarifying and helpful way of getting, the next sense of maybe what the 2 to 3 year window coming up for me is. And you just do such cool work and I'm grateful to be a part of it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Morgan.